this video, I wanted to explain a little bit about fourth semester, which is my current semester. First things first, the semester is again divided into first 8 weeks and then a week of spring break and then second 8 weeks. So a total of 16 school weeks for the entire semester. And in the first 8 weeks, you'll be taking pediatrics plus advanced med-surg. So this is when it got really tough personally for me because, as you know, throughout the program from first semester to third semester, you're so used to just having one topic class. For example, you only have, if it's med-surg, you just had med-surg. And if it's OB or maternity, then you had just maternity, right? Or if it was mental health, then you only had mental health for 8 weeks. But this is in fourth semester, it's when you're gonna have 2 different topic classes. So for my school schedule, it was Monday was a free day, so I didn't go to school. Tuesday I had peds clinical. Wednesday I had med-surg lecture. Thursday I had peds lecture, and then Friday I had the advanced med-surg clinical at the hospital. So in a week you're gonna have 2 clinical days and then 2 lecture days. So a total of 4 days you'll be in school or at the hospital. So that already is a lot compared to the previous semesters, right? So just heads up on that, and you have to make sure you schedule your, if you're working or if you have family, you have to make sure you work all that out. And peds was a lot of memorization personally, and the professor has a lot of slides. So for me, peds was more difficult. For example, like immunization, like from what age to what age needs which immunizations and which vaccines, like all that you have to memorize, and those will come up on your exams. But the med-surg, on the other hand, was pretty interesting for me because it was first time going into an ICU for clinical, and I just loved everything that I learned in ICU. So for med-surg, our professor used a lot of osmosis videos. So she would show us at the beginning of lecture a video of osmosis, a video from osmosis regarding that topic that she was going to lecture us on, and then she went on with her lecture for the PowerPoint. So it really helped me a lot to have those osmosis videos. So it is actually a subscription website and it's totally worth it. So what I did was I would pause after every sentence and take any notes that I needed to take to retain the information. And let me show you. This is what I have. So for example, as you can see here, these are my notes for the advanced med-surg in fourth semester, and I had so much fun actually. It was actually very tedious and it was time consuming, but I had so much fun learning about so many new different pathophysiologies and anatomy, physiology, causes, risk factors, and etc. Every time I needed to brush up on some topic or some disease process, and I would just pull this paper out and I would just review everything that I had written there. And the tests were like if you study like this, I got an A in the class, and I feel like it's pretty possible to get an A in the class as long as you study well. And yeah, and for peds, I really can't say anything because I did really bad in the beginning. I failed like the first and the second exam, I think, and then I ended up doing well towards the end. But peds, I feel like it's just a lot of memorization and a lot of practice questions. So go on the ATI dynamic quiz banks. I don't know what it's called exactly, but go on that thing and just do a lot of questions, do all the questions that they have for peds, and go on Quizlet or go on Google and do a lot of peds questions, and you'll come across some that are like redundant, and that's how you're gonna realize what the answer is. And so in peds, I believe you have your exams, and then at the end of the course you have to take an ATI proctored exam for peds. Yeah, you have to take that, and if you don't get a level 2 or 3, then you have to do remediation. You have to retake it until you get a 2 or 3. And make sure you study for that very, very hard. Do a lot of questions, do a lot of practice questions and practice exams, because whatever you get on that exam, the ATI proctor for peds, will also count into your grades. So the professor actually gives you points if you get level 2 or level 3. And I believe level 2 was, if you get a level 2, then she gives you 100% on your final. That's your final exam grade. But if you get a level 3, then she gives you even more points, extra points. So, and then for MedSearch, so her final exam was not the ATI proctor. She had her own final exam, which was cumulative. That's why I'm telling you, keep all your notes. Make sure you have it and you review it frequently, so that for your final exam, you already know everything. You're not too bombarded with everything. But then she also makes you take the MedSearch proctor exam. So that one, you have to get a level 2 or 3, or else you're gonna have to keep taking it again and again, but it doesn't count into your grades. And then for the second 8 weeks of your 4th semester, you have a leadership proctor exam. That one, it doesn't count into your grades, but you have to again pass with level 2 or 3, or else you're gonna have to keep retaking it, plus remediation, and then retake until you get a 2 or 3. And then after 2 weeks, you have like a NCLEX ATI predictor exam, where it's like a comprehensive, it's everything that you've learned so far. So that one, it doesn't count. It's okay, whatever grade you get is what you get. They don't penalize you for it, or you don't have to retake it or anything, because it's basically a predictor to see what you're gonna get, or like they give you like a probability of you passing the NCLEX. So that's the purpose, and that's why I didn't really stress out too much about it, which I actually just took it today. And for the second 8 weeks, it's basically leadership and preceptorship. So you no longer have a clinical. Instead, you're supposed to get assigned to a preceptor. So preceptor is like when you go into the hospital and you're basically acting like you're an RN, but you have an RN, also known as a preceptor, who's looking over you, supervising you, basically. So you're gonna be with that RN. So in that sense, it's a lot similar to clinical, but you're gonna be the one who's doing a lot of the stuff. So that's what preceptor is, and they will explain more in detail when you actually get to the time where you have to do it. But technically you have to do total of 11 shifts, and every week for 1 hour you're gonna have like a meeting with your instructor who's in charge for your preceptorship. So yeah, you just have a meeting, you talk about what you learn, or you get feedbacks and all that good stuff. So total of 11 shifts, and each shift is 12 hours. So you go in from, if it's a day shift, you follow the nurse that you're assigned to, the nurse who will be precepting you. So if your nurse is has a day shift, and let's say your nurse has Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, just an example, right? And she does a day shift, then you can choose, it'll be the best if you can do all 3, but as a nursing student, it's gonna be pretty tough, right? And honestly, even for me, like, it was really tough to do a 12-hour shift, because, mind you, this is not just a clinical, it's preceptorship. So you're gonna be doing like a lot of work. You're gonna be the one who's doing most of the work, right? So it's really stressful mentally and physically, and it's fatiguing. So it'll be good if you can do all 3 shifts, but I've been hearing from other girls who are already doing their preceptorship that they usually go twice a week. So even the nurse, their RN, goes 3 times a week. They just choose 2 days, and they let the RN know, and they let the instructor know, and they just go those 2 days. And sometimes the day that your preceptor works on might fall on the same day as your lecture day. So that's when you have to let your nurse know that you cannot come in that day because you have lecture. So lecture is priority according to Miss Moorfield. So yeah, after doing a total of 11 shifts, you're technically done, and you have a whole bunch of paperwork that you have to fill out. You have to fill all those out, and there's a sheet where you write like which day and which shift, and your preceptor has to initial it. You have to initial it. You have to write down the hours that you were doing and the total of hours and all that. So I'm almost done. But the sad thing is I haven't started my preceptorship. Well, I technically went for the first one, but I'm still on a hold because you are supposed to have preceptorship in 4th semester. It's the second 8 weeks, but for me, they couldn't find, for me and as well as a few other girls, you know, they couldn't find a preceptor, so I'm still waiting for my placement. And there was a lot of things that happened, but I can't mention all that right now in this video. But yeah, thankfully I will be going to Kaiser in Woodland Hills, and I'm just waiting for my preceptor to be assigned to me. So that's what I'm doing. And leadership is honestly, I feel like it's not that bad. What you do is you go to lecture every Thursday from 8 to 11ish, and Miss Moorfield is gonna talk to you about a topic, and you do discussions. Like, you talk about your opinions and what you think and what you learned and what you reflected on and all that with the class. So you get participation points for doing that, so you have to participate. And you have this thing called like a mock interview where you have to prepare resume and cover letter, and they assign you to a time slot for your interview. And Miss Moorfield and Angel, most likely, they're gonna be the ones who's interviewing you. So it's like a mock interview, and they give you like feedback on what you missed and what you didn't do. So it was really helpful in that, because in that I felt like through that I feel a little more prepared, and I know what to expect, what to brush up on if I do go to a real interview for my job later on. So it was really helpful. And you have this thing called ATI, so they call it virtual ATI, and technically no one is like really supervising you or like checking up on you. You have to kind of do it, and yeah, you have certain things that you have to finish on ATI by end of the semester. So that plus the pinning ceremony is gonna also be happening at the end. And yeah, I think it'll be helpful for you to know all this before you go into the semester. That way you're not too startled by everything. And yeah. So let me just explain how I took notes and what I found to be most useful. So for example, when you go on the osmosis video, and when you're watching the video, obviously this is the title of the topic of the video. And then I just, for my own reference, I just put like the exam number that it belongs to, and yeah, whatever extra notes that I could take, I put it under. And then this is basically like the little pathophysiology that they give you in the beginning, or whatever terms or like whatever things that I'm not too familiar with. I just kind of organized it here so I can refer back to it easily. And then I always put, like, as you can see in this one too, but I put the causes, and then usually pathophysiology. Sometimes it changes. This one goes up here, or in this case it's down here, but causes, patho, and then clinical manifestations, which is also same thing as signs and symptoms, and then diagnosis, and then treatment. And then usually on the back page I would put nursing care. So this was big for the exam in her class. You have to know the nursing care is like the priorities, or all what you do and all that. And then yeah, anything extra that I had to memorize, I will put it here. Anything I found to be very important, especially for the NCLEX, I would put it here. So that's one example for the DIC. Let me give you like another example. Sometimes I would like fold this paper into half, and I would put the topic title on top. And then I found this actually to be useful. Towards the end, I kept doing this because, you know, usually like you take notes, and then this whole side is like you have whole bunch of stuff, and then on your right side you don't have, like, you have so much blank space, right? So I found out later on that it's useful to write all your, you know, cause, risk factors, manifestations, which is your signs and symptoms, treatment, and then treatment also, I believe. And then complications, and here diagnosis. And then of course the nursing care on the back. And then sometimes I'll put like client and family teaching. So as you can see, maybe like the order of the category differs, but it's similar stuff. For this one, it was the intracranial hemorrhage. So there's 2 different types, so that's why I found it useful to fold it in half again. So up to from here to up to here, down to here, it was like the same stuff, all about ICH. The things that would be like the same here, and then from here on I divided into 2 topics, subtopics. And then epidural hematoma, I would put everything here, cause, risk factor, patho. Subdural hematoma, I would put it on this side. A lot of times it'll take more than 1 page, so yeah. And what else? Let me see, what's another one? DKA. Oh my gosh, this was huge. Make sure you remember all this throughout the class, the course. But this was pretty tough, but it was really interesting. It was towards the beginning, that's why it's not folded into half, or else I would have done it. Sometimes when I'm like going through sample questions, I would fold it into 3, you know, parts, and then I would just put on this side like things that I keep getting wrong, and then on this side I would put like all the med questions that I couldn't remember, and then here like extra stuff. So you can see these are like the sample questions that I found on Quizlet, and then this is like the transcript. So basically like they have it written all down, whatever they say in the video, and this time I figured it'll be maybe easier for me to print it out and highlight, so I tried that. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, so that's all that. As you can see, like I don't really refer back to this, I refer back to my notes more. This is just from ATI book. So this was actually in 3rd semester, but yeah, I found this to be like the most effective for med search, this way of taking notes. Yeah, this was in 3rd semester. That's how you see like it's not really organized into parts. I think even when I study NCLEX, I'll definitely refer back to it because it really helps. Yeah, whenever I was doing the osmosis video and taking notes from it, if I didn't understand something, I would go to my textbook and just do Control-Find and search the topic and read about it and then come back to it. And that's how it really helped me to understand this clearly.